To the people out there who fall into the category of biracial, again, this one applies to you. I find myself doing quite a few of these type of videos now recently, because a lot of people who are fall into the category of biracial and mixed seem to think that they are absolved of racism. Not all of them. Some of them know what the deal is, but some of them are living in la la land, and some will get their wake up call sooner than they think. And speaking of wake up calls, this little girl that you see in this picture, whose name is Charlie Bullock, got hers when she was in a beauty pageant competition. Now, for me, I've always found it a little weird that these parents get their children, well, more so their daughters, into these little beauty pageants, because it feels like child exploitation to me. And one of the people that come to mind when it comes to these beauty pageants is JonBenet Ramsey. Of course, for those of you who are around, excuse me, in the 90s, know of her story. You know, she was a little white girl out of Boulder, Colorado, who her parents used to put her into these beauty competitions, these beauty pageants. And then on Christmas Day in 96, she was found dead inside of her home in her basement. And that became one of the most talked about, and I do mean one of the most talked about stories for years. I'm exaggerating it because that story stayed in the air, in the news for a very, very, very long time, even more than like Natalie Holloway. Like when I say years, I'm talking about, you probably heard about this story all the way up into 2000 on an almost consistent basis, because it was a big mystery of who actually murdered her. Although many people suggest it could have been her parents, and some even suggest it was probably her brother. So, but to this day, it's still a mystery, and it's going to be one of those cold cases where you'll never really know, because I believe her mother passed a few years ago, and I think her dad did too. So, but yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. But that's why I said, like, when it comes to these child beauty pageants, it struck me as weird. But back to this story right here. So you can see it right here in the headline. It says, pageant judge critiques biracial child, saying tan a tad too dark. Even though the girl probably doesn't have any spray tan on. I'm not sure if she has any on or not. And I always thought that was weird too, when they be putting these tans and stuff on there. I think they had like shows that used to air talking about little girls in these beauty pageants. Wasn't it that show called Honey Boo Boo or something like that? I think that's the show that talked about the children, the little girls in the beauty pageants, and the stuff that they would do, and having them look grown. And it just struck me as weird, and it just seemed like a breeding ground for these child predators. That's why I always thought it was weird to me. But apparently one of the judges had left a critique on her document, and they were basically talking about that she was a little bit too dark. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the article, and then I'm going to show you the screenshot of the actual document in which the judge wrote that as a critique. It says, an Arkansas mom says she was appalled after her child's skin color was criticized during a school beauty pageant. Amber Fletcher's daughter, 4-year-old Charlie Bullock, has been competing in pageants since she was 6 months old. Now that is even more weirder. Why is a 6-month-old child, a toddler, in a beauty pageant? Does that strike that as weird to anybody? Why is a 6-month-old child who can't even talk yet probably can barely walk, if they can walk at all, doing beauty pageants? That has always been weird to me. And usually for me, when it comes to those beauty pageants, when it comes to the girls anyway, it's always those mothers. But I find that when it comes to a lot of these beauty pageants, you'll find a lot of PC mothers that are doing this. Like if you look at those little beauty pageants with the girls, you see a pattern. You'll see a routine, actually. But 6 months? That's crazy. It says she loves to dress up, wear makeup, and put on a show for people, Fletcher told Newsweek. But when she participated in the 2022 Miss Riverside pageant on September 23rd in Lake City, Arkansas, Charlie received a critique that took her mom off guard. After the Tiny Tots division event, the little girl came home with her score sheets. One judge wrote, tan is a tad too dark for her age, but everything else is beautiful. That's the part that didn't sit right with me because she didn't have a spray tan, said Fletcher. That's her natural skin color. Charlie is biracial in a predominantly white school district, her mom said. Ugh, another red flag. Now, as you can see, and I called it. I said, I bet you it's not a spray tan. I bet that's her natural skin tone. So this is the picture of the girl. You know how I always say that some kids who are biracial could possibly pass? She would fall into that category. For some people, she could pass. Well, I'll put it this way. She could pass for some people, but she didn't pass enough for this judge, because the judge thought that this was a tan, like a spray tan. Because like I said, they do be spray tanning them girls to give them a little bit of a darker hue. If you think about it, think about when it comes to bodybuilding. And you have your more darker skinned bodybuilders, the black guys or the black women, and you have your more fair skin, such as your PC men and women. They have to put extra layers of spray tan on the PC men and women who compete, because their skin is so light, it's pale. Opposed to when it comes to the more darker skin or black competitors, they might need one coat of tanning, because and the reason they do that is because it shows better under the lights. That's why you'll find that a lot of times when it comes to these competitions, in some cases, you'll have a lot of the black competitors winning, opposed to the PC ones. Not saying the PC ones don't win, because when it comes to bodybuilding, it pretty much, always a lot of times catered to them at first until black people really started to get into it. But pay attention to those spray tans, like those tans they have to do. They have to put way more on them to get them to a certain color, opposed to someone who say my complexion, I would probably only need one tanning coat on me to show under those lights when I'm posing, for the judges. But the fact that she didn't put any on and the judge thought she did and said, oh, it was too dark, that tells you right there. And then they said she's in a predominantly white school district. That tells you right there that she's probably the only quote unquote, well, I'll say non-white girl in this pageant. But looking at her picture, if you didn't know she was biracial, many would think that she was a little white girl, because she could pretty much pass. Like I said, some can pass, some cannot. She could. I'm being completely honest with you, but let me continue. Fletcher quickly contacted the pageant director and the judge who wrote the comment. The director said she had not read the score sheet before it was sent out. The judge apologized, saying she was not aware that Charlie was biracial. Honestly, I feel like that shouldn't have even played a factor, the mom said. It doesn't matter if they're too white or they're too dark. It matters how someone feels in their own skin. So I feel like the comment as a whole was just unnecessary. Fletcher added that although Charlie could not read or understand her own score sheets, an older child could have sustained a blow to their self-esteem. She circulated a photo of the critique on Facebook, writing, I am appalled. Black women have fought for a place in beauty pageants over the past century. In the 1930s, Rule 7 in the Miss America rule book ordered that contestants must be of good health and of the white race. As late as 1940, all contestants were required to list how far back they could trace their ancestry according to PBS. In 1968, close to 400 feminists protested outside the Miss America pageant in Atlantic City, New Jersey. They carried signs that said no more beauty standards and Miss America is alive and well in Harlem. The protest magnetized national media attention and became a major success for the women's movement. Jeff Priest, superintendent of the Riverside School District, said the pageant judge's comment was unacceptable and inappropriate, and she will not be invited back for any future pageants. Any pageant held at the school district is intended to support and encourage the participants, Priest said in a statement. Riverside, regrets that this comment was made by the judge. The comment does not reflect the beliefs of the Riverside School District or its principles of respect and encouragement of all its students. However, the judge's words will not deter Fletcher from entering her daughter into more beauty pageants. We actually have a pageant coming up on the 29th of this month. She said, as long as Charlie continues to tell me that she wants to do it, I'm all for putting her in them. Well, the girl is pretty much locked into doing them now, because you had her in pageants since she was 6 months of age. So, okay, so here's a screenshot right here. It's a little bit cut off, but you can pretty much understand it, of the comment that the judge made. It says tan is a tad too dark for her age, but everything else is beautiful. And see, this is how you know, like, they shot themselves in the foot, because like the mother said, she didn't put a spray tan on her daughter. That was her natural skin color. That's just how she naturally looks. So like I said, to the people who are biracial and mixed out there, you may think that you can pass for some, but you ain't passing for all, because this judge could see right through it, even though she thought it was a tan. Now, keep in mind, she said everything else is beautiful except for the tan. This judge also told on themselves that to be darker is to be ugly. Even if you are mixed or biracial, that's still not attractive, or that's still not the beauty standard, because the quote unquote standard of beauty in America, even in 2022, is more fairer skinned people, probably such as the judge that wrote this tacky comment. Like that. And people want to claim we live in a post-racial society. Keep thinking, keep dreaming. But like I said, this for me does not all fall on just the judge. I'm still questioning the mother as to why she had her daughter in these pageants since she was 6 months of age. That is very weird and strange to me. And I find that a lot of these stage moms, as they call them, do this with these daughters because maybe when they were kids, they couldn't do it when they wanted to do it, or maybe they did it and they weren't successful. So now they have to try to live vicariously through their children, which is also, in my opinion, child abuse. Because you can only imagine how some of these stage moms treat their daughters, how they might be talking to them. They could be yelling at them. They could be telling them all types of things. They might have their kids on strict diets that are not formidable for their bodies at such a young age. And again, I'm going back to the fact that this mother had her daughter in pageants at 6 months. No wonder she's so locked in. And it says that they're going to continue doing these pageants. And it makes you wonder, does this little girl want to do those pageants, or is her mother making her do them? Like, these are questions that need answering. So I see a bunch of red flags from various avenues. Of course, from this judge and making this comment, but also the mother having her daughter in pageants since she was a toddler. But y'all tell me what you think.